Good afternoon, good evening. I'm Carrie. This is Student Loan Chit-Chat. Okay, this is part two of my car buying series. I don't know how many series there are going to be. I don't know how many parts there could be. This could be the last one. We keep it casual on this channel. If you are new here, welcome. I'm so glad you stopped by. Typically on this channel, I like to listen to Dave Ramsey debt telephone calls, and we like to see what we can learn from them. But every now and then, I do step into different territory, and in this case, I'm talking about the $26,000 2024 Toyota Corolla Hybrid that I just purchased about a week ago. I'm basically talking about my experience with leasing on that. So the first video that I did on leasing that ran about a week ago. I will link that here at the end of this video. Now I want to talk about what made leasing so successful. Okay, because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to guide you through my experience. So if you can, get information from it that helps you decide whether to lease, and if you do choose to lease a car, how to make it successful. The purpose of my discussing this is not to convince you in any way that what I did was the best or what I did was right for you or anything like that. It's just simply to share with you my experience, and if you get bits of ideas that help you make your decision, that is absolutely wonderful. Okay, so of course, if you are a returning guest, you are family, so I want to welcome you back. All right, folks, so let's go ahead and talk about what I did to make leasing so successful. Okay. For those that may not be familiar, I leased a car for 5.5 years. A week ago, I bought my 2024 Toyota Corolla Hybrid. The LE version, even though they tried to, get me to go into the SE. All right. And what I really, really wanted was the Camry. But I stuck within budget. Okay, so I had the 2024 for 26,000, which is under manufacturer suggested price. All right, so I went ahead and got that. Now then, I know people really want to know what the lease terms were and all of that stuff. I will get to that, and I might even get to that today. All right, no promises. We'll see. Let's talk about what I did that made leasing, in my opinion, for me, so successful. The first thing that I did is I did my research on leasing. And I have to be honest, I have a little notepad here. Okay, because I can't, when it comes to things like lists, I will not remember it. So if you see me looking down, it's because, I'm working with my notepad. All right. But one of the things that I did was that I made sure that I leased a very, very affordable car. I started leasing for about 4 years after coming out of a divorce, and my finances were just all over the place. I had a SUV that I couldn't afford. You can hear about that from the very first auto series video. I'll link that at the end. That was stressing me the heck out. I had $110,000 in student loans that I knew was going to eventually be forgiven, but the student loan situation was a mess. Okay, we won't even get into that, but the PSLF, public service loan forgiveness, was a mess. But I knew that in time, my $110,000 loan would be forgiven. I was in an apartment. The apartment that I was living in had just been sold, and I knew that with, when an apartment is sold, what do? They fix it up, and sometimes they don't even fix it up, but they raise the rent. Hey, hold on, let me turn on the light in here. Hold on, family. Can you see me now? Okay. All right. So I knew with that, I was living in 675 square feet. And then my apartment rent, just before I left that and bought this condo behind me in 2020, my apartment rent was about 950. Okay. I would like to say that the apartment today, all right, goes for almost 17 to 1800 a month. Yeah. So I dodged a bullet on that one. And someday I'll talk about that, because I don't think it was really dodging a bullet. Yeah, I did, but there was a master plan behind all that, but that's for another video on another day. But basically, there were just a lot of things going on in my life. And of course, like I said, I'd been divorced for 4 years. And, I had a few, not many, okay, a few lingering, credit card bills that needed to be taken care of. Nothing that was urgent, because I learned my credit card lessons in my 20s. So the credit card bills weren't what were stressing me out. I had very, very little. It probably wasn't more than 1,000 or so. So nothing overly serious, but it was still debt. It was stuff that was being tacked on to, everything else going on in my life. So when I chose to lease a vehicle 5.5 years ago, I was in my very early 50s, and I did my research. I made sure that I looked up the pros and the cons of leasing. And I wanted to hear it all. Again, I'm telling you why I think my lease was so successful, because it didn't stress me out at all. I really did my research. I listened to the pros and cons. I talked to people who did lease. Okay. I think one thing to also remember that for a lot of us who choose to lease in our later years, many of us have done the traditional buy a used car route. We've done it. So when someone says, well, you should buy a used car and you should do, you should do this, you're talking to people who, in their late 40s, 50s, 60s even, that have probably already done that. So I had decades of experience in buying a used car. My budget was such that I could never really get a newly used car, like just 3-4 years old. My new to me cars were typically, I'd say, around 6 to 8 years old. Not quite 10, but I would say, 6 to 8 years old was pretty common. Probably at around 80,000 miles or so. But that was typically, the type of car that I would buy. And unfortunately, they just, a lot of used cars have a lot of problems. So when I decided to lease a car, in addition to getting an inexpensive car, I just simply made sure that I'd done my homework. And I think part of the thing about doing your homework before you do anything, it gives you peace of mind that the decision you've made is right for you. And I think that's the big thing. You have, and even with this channel, the tips, the advice that I give people, it's what's worked for me, or it's what did not work for me. And I share that experience with you too, with you also, as you know. Okay. But ultimately, the only one who can really decide is you, because you are the only person that knows your wants, your wishes, your dreams, your hopes, your budget. And if you have, other people involved in your budget, maybe a spouse, a relationship, you have kids dependent on your budget, only you actually know. But when it came to leasing, God bless YouTube. It told me pretty much everything I needed to know. Plus I did a lot of my own, reading of, articles and stuff, because sometimes, YouTube is great, but let's face it, YouTube is kind of, short and sweet. Sometimes I want more in depth. I know I do read. I'm not the biggest reader in the world. Okay. Don't tell my students that. All right. But I do read, and when I want information, I want the in-depth stuff. So I really looked at what it is that made leasing fail for people. And one of the things that I realized in my research, the reason a lot of people fail when it comes to leasing, they lease expensive. They go out, they lease the $500, $600, $700, $800 luxury vehicle. They sign up for that for 3 years. Some leases I've heard even go as long as 4. Okay, but for the standard, I'm going to say it's standard 36 months. They sign up. So I knew right off the bat, Carrie, don't make that mistake by signing up for a ridiculously high lease vehicle. Because even though the payments will end in 3 years, you still got to support it. And so in my research, I realized, lots of people seem to lease really, really expensive cars, and then they slam leasing and say how it sucks. Hold on, I gotta have my beverage. This is the coconut, what is it? This is the mango drink. It's like a pina colada tropical type by the Naked Company, Naked. It's actually pretty good. I mix it with my smoothies. So that's my tea for today. But one of the things that I did in my research was I wanted to look at what made people fail. Why did so many people hate leasing? And you know what? I'm going to be really, really honest. Most of what I read, aside from leasing is fleecing, okay, was really people just leased vehicles that were too expensive. It wasn't because, that leasing wasn't a good idea for them. It wasn't because leasing might actually work for a period of time for them, okay? The majority of it was, oh man, I leased this BMW whatever series, okay, and it turned out to be $750 a month, and I wanted to get out of it because the payments were too much. I changed cities, moved jobs, whatever. Okay, so I figured out right away, don't lease too much. Something else to also consider when I leased is, are you going to move cities? You need to find out from your leasing company what will be the requirement should you change cities, should you change states. These are questions and things you need to think of before you just hop into a leased car, because depending upon your lease contract, you may or may not be required to return the leased car to the place of origin of where you leased it. Now, I'm going to say that probably doesn't happen a lot, but again, you don't want any surprises when it comes to leasing. So make sure that, and you may say, oh, I'm settled, I'm not going anywhere. You again have to look at, this is over 3 years. Okay, this is over 3 years. A lot can happen in 3 years. So make sure that when you lease, you find out what the rules are about, okay, do I have to return my lease to you, Mr. Dealer, where I got it from? Do I have to have all my repairs by you, Mr. Dealer, where I got it from? Or can I go to any, and I'll use my case as Toyota, or can I go to any Toyota dealership anywhere in the country and return my lease? Can I have my warranty? Can I have my lease repair warranty done by any place, anywhere in the United States by a certified Toyota dealer? Because you have to remember, you are leasing. It's not the same as when you're buying a car and you go to a non-dealer person to to work on your car under warranty. I will not take my car to the dealership to have the warranty work done. Oh, heck no. And have somebody trying to upsell me every second. I swear to God, they'll take my car that will only have 5,000 miles on it, and they will find a reason to upsell me. No, I don't. Carrie, don't play that crap game. No, I don't play that. Okay. So I will take it to a certified Toyota mechanic, one that I absolutely love. Okay. But you have to think in terms of leasing. The rules are a little bit different when it comes to that. So I can't tell you, what to do or not do, because that's something you have to deal with your leasing company, the dealership. The other thing is, also, so what do we have here? Don't get yourself a cheap car. Find out what the rules are for having your car maintained, to find out what the rules are to where you can return your car. You're in the middle of a lease, you live in Florida, now you want to move to, Oregon. That's my home state. What am I going to have to do? Does this change the effect of the lease? The goal is you don't want surprises in what your responsibilities are under a lease. And you have to think like a leasing owner, not a car borrower. The two are not the same. Okay. So you have to keep that in mind. Something else that I think also made leasing successful for me, that I think made it really successful. I chose a company that I could stay with for the rest of my life. And here's why. I'm not saying you have to stay with this leasing company the rest of your life, but I'm just saying, if you're going to lease over multiple cycles, like I leased for a cycle and a half. I was just 6 months shy, because I got my new Toyota hybrid just this last week. So about 7 days ago. Okay. 7-8 days ago. What was my thought? Yeah. So I was at the very, very end of my second lease, and I was considering going into my third lease. I'll explain later in another video probably why I didn't go, the finances of it. That'll probably be the next video where I talk about the finances of it. Okay. Because I know everybody wants to know the tea on that. At least that's what I'd want to know. Okay. But so I was 6 months away from that. So pick a company that you would be completely happy releasing from. Don't bounce from lease to lease to lease company, because every time you bounce, you have to pay that disposition fee that can run around $350 respectively, for the fee for turning in the car and all of that stuff. Yeah, you might be able to get perks from your new leasing company that will help, minimize that. But honestly, lease from a company that you would be happy to release from, because if you do, not only does it make just the whole leasing process easier, but they'll give you perks. Okay. Toyota paid, for my first lease and my second lease, they paid about 2 months worth of my lease, because they gave me literally cash back that applied to about the equivalent of about 2 months worth of leasing. These perks can be very difficult to get. if you're bouncing around. So pick a company that you really, really like, and you like, yep, I could lease from this company 2-3 times over for the rest of my life, whatever. You don't literally have to stay for the rest of your life. Okay. But you get the idea. All right. Also, take away, let's talk about the fear that people have of the warranty. Oh my God, if there's so much as a ding or a scratch, they're going to get me on it. That's something that turned me off to the idea of leasing initially. Okay. But again, when you do your research, you'll be amazed. My job in doing my research was, how can I make leasing work for me if I decide to do it? Okay. So I looked up the warranty, wear and tear, and all of that stuff. Guys, just buy a warranty. There is a wear and tear warranty that you can pay for. Now, some people say, yeah, but if I don't ever have to use it, again, we're talking about peace of mind. And if you lease, a little Corolla like I did, I didn't lease the hybrid, but I just leased a standard, gas Corolla. Okay, so you might pay an extra $500 on top of it, but it gives you about $5,000 worth of damage coverage. So every little thing isn't nickel and dime. Again, I wanted to lease with peace of mind. That's what I wanted. I wanted peace of mind. They don't tell you, a lot of people when they say, oh, leasing is, they're going to ding you on every little thing. Sure, perhaps if you don't have the warranty that covers, approximately $5,000 worth of wear and tear. And I'm going to be really honest, folks, if your kids aren't sitting in the back seat spilling gum and lemonade, if you're not getting dinged by every car that parks next to you, if you're not backing up into street lights, telephone poles, speed bump curbs, and all of that stuff, we're talking 36 months. You can keep a car, even if you didn't have the warranty. Okay. I think you would be just fine. But in my case, I chose each lease to go ahead and get the warranty. It was probably, and I also got the tire warranty because again, remember, we're talking leasing. You must put like to like on anything that gets damaged, wears out on the car. Like to like. You cannot go to the tire shop and say, well, we've all done it if we've been broke. 2 tires on the front. They're not quite bulged yet, but you're going to put 2 tires on the back and they're going to be new. I mean, you're like trying to, piece together 4 tires so you can drive that will fit your budget. Okay. When you are talking leasing, especially with things like tires, car parts, all of that stuff, you must mandatorily like to like. There is no cutting corners. So to make sure that I gave myself peace of mind when I leased, I went ahead and got tire coverage. It covers the tires and the wheels. It's the equivalent cost of about paying for a tire. Okay, I think it was like an extra $300. They spread it out as part of the lease. If you bust a tire, the first tire that busts, you pay for. Every additional tire, it's on the company. Okay, I used it. I had 2 tires. I had 2 flat tires, one with each lease. Okay. I had 2 flat tires. They took care of it, yada, yada. Okay. But you have to remember it's like to like. There is no, we're going to cut corners. It's a leased car. So having that coverage on there, again, it's just about peace of mind. And if you are not leasing an expensive car, you're not trying to, show off and act like the BMW is owned by you when really it's leased by you. Okay. And actually, if you're smart, I think luxury cars should only be leased. I don't know why anybody would want to take care of a luxury car. I think that's my opinion. Because even if the car were paid for, I still don't want to maintain a luxury car. Just the bill for maintenance and insurance, forget it. So for me and my budget, if I ever get into a luxury brand car, I'm leasing the sucker. Okay, that's just all there is to it. But I don't really see my budget going there because basically I'm too thrifty. I like to say I'm thrifty. I don't like to say I'm cheap. All right. So anyways, stop worrying about this, wear and tear and all the fear mongering that goes on with leasing. All right. As far as the tires and the, just get the walkaway wear and tear warranty, get the tires. Okay. You might pay an extra $50-$60 a month, but I'm telling you, you could probably get away without the tires, to be honest. Just have a little savings account. If a tire goes, boom, you've got the money to repair it. But, again, I really want leasing to be friendly to me. So in my case, I got them both and I have 0 regrets. And I had no warranty issues at all. as far as, walking around and checking it. Because another reason I would get the warranty thing, come on, folks, let's all admit it, and I have done it. I accidentally ran over a parking curb. Ooh, that did not sound good the day I did that. Okay, but it turned out everything was fine. I had them look at it. It was absolutely fine. That would have fallen under my insurance because you have to have comp and collision. And remember, when you lease a car, okay, the warranty is bumper to bumper for mechanical things, manufacturing failure, not because of your accidents and, stuff like that. That falls under your collision, your comp collision stuff. Okay. Get the wear and tear warranty. And it's amazing to me how many videos I've seen that go, oh, they're going to ding you for everything. And nobody ever brings up the freaking wear and tear warranty. All right. Let's see what else as to what I thought made leasing successful. I kind of saved these two big ones for last. One of the things that I did during my 5.5 years of leasing, because I leased for 5.5 years, I took advantage during those 5.5 years to fix things in my life that weren't going right. I didn't just lease a car and say, well, that's the end of it. I'm just going to lease till the day I die. Now, if I was rich, seriously, if I were rich, I would lease till the day I die. Why do I want to deal with a car even at all? Okay, I would, but I'm not rich. But one of the things that I did is during the time that I lease, during whatever time should you choose to lease, look at it as, hold on. Oh, I just dropped everybody hold, just hold on. Hold on. I thought of something. Okay, so one of the things that I did was I used the time period of leasing to fix parts of my life that needed to be fixed. In other words, I didn't just lease and go, I'm going to go sit on the couch now that I've leased. Meanwhile, in my case, let's use me because that's all I can use. Okay. During the 5.5 years that I leased, let me tell you how much changed in my life. Okay. I went from 675 square foot to 840 family, 840. I went from 675 square foot apartment renting to my little 840 square foot condo. All right. So that was one major thing that I did because I wanted the leasing period to stabilize my budget. All right. And I talk about that in the video. Like I said, I call it the auto series. Okay. In part 1, again, which I will link at the end, I used the time in leasing to stabilize my budget. And this is why leasing on the affordability range, I really wanted leasing to be affordable because I wanted to use it to stabilize my budget because I had gotten tired of continuous car repairs, just nonstop with the used vehicle that I had, which was a V8 SUV. Absolute nightmare vehicle. And it was the only thing that I got in the divorce because we each walked away with our own debt and bills. And the only thing that he covered was this SUV. And I think it had about 2 years worth of payments on it, around $300. And folks, that was it. That's what I got. Okay. But during the time that I leased, I used it to straighten my life up, so to speak. Okay. So one thing I did was I realized that, my apartment had been sold. It was like, whoops, time to get out. And during the 4 years before I had moved and before I had leased, I had saved up about $25,000. Okay. And I used that along, with some inheritance my absolutely blessed parents left to me. Okay, I used that to get into my condo. All right, it wasn't enough to pay the whole thing, but darn near. But I still had about $45,000, $50,000 mortgage that I had to take out. So right there was a major change, and I had already started leasing a car because I started leasing when I was living in the apartment. So major change there. I used that to, I guess you could say, straighten up my financial life as far as the cost of living. When the apartment went from $950, it is now renting at $1,800 a month. But I got into this condo and my mortgage was very small. And I was able to pay this condo off in about 2.5 to 3 years respectively. So during the first lease, my condo got paid off. All right. What also happened during the 5.5 years that I leased, during this last lease, okay, in 2022, my $110,000 student loan got forgiven because I worked on that. I stayed in the same job. I even stayed at the same school. Now, fortunately, I just really, really happened to work well with my administrators. So I'm kind of like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Okay. So I'm in my 18th year. It's my only teaching job at the same school, but I stayed dedicated to that, loyal, dedicated, yada, yada. Okay. I didn't allow myself to go shifting around. Okay. Too much. Because I knew that holding $110,000 student loan, for me to get rid of that, I didn't want to complicate things. It's not that teachers can't change schools. You can. You clearly can. But if I didn't have to complicate things, why complicate it, right? So during the time that I leased, I followed the student loan news. And of course, I created Student Loan Chit-Chat. Yay. All right. So I created Student Loan Chit-Chat channel and all of that. So that was another big thing that happened during the time that I was leasing. I also was very focused during the time that I leased to get my credit score the heck out of the gutter. Okay. I will be honest, it never went low. I mean, probably, around, low 600. It wasn't in the 500s. I know that, but it was like probably 620 or so. And I knew, I guess you could probably say I was pretty low, probably around 650. I knew it had to get high. Okay. I knew that to lease, I needed to get that score up as high as I could. So during the time, So actually I need to back up. Before I started leasing, I focused on my credit score. I made sure I didn't get into additional credit card debt. And again, my credit card debt was very small. It was probably around 1,000 or so. It's not like I had tons of credit cards because I'd learned my lesson in my early 20s about don't get into credit card debt. All right. So, but still, I had debt. I had about 1,000 and I still didn't want it. So I made sure to clear that. I knew that with leasing, I would need a very high score and I wanted at about 750 and I got it. Okay. I got it. So that was the first lease. I did score 750 or so. All right. And obviously I got into the lease, but all this time during the 5.5 years that I've leased, I have taken care to make sure that I use that stability time by, I have a car and it's got a very clear budget. I don't need to worry about a savings account. I don't need to worry about maintenance. My job is to lease and clean up the other areas of my life. Sweep it up, clean the clutter. I strongly recommend if you choose to lease, understand why you're leasing. What is it that you want? I understood what I wanted. I wanted to, what's the word? I wanted to streamline. I wanted to stabilize. That's the word. I wanted to stabilize my budget. And leasing allowed me to stabilize my budget. Well, wouldn't it be a waste of time to stabilize it and then not do anything? It's like, hey, you've got this car, you're leasing it. You don't have to worry about maintenance. You don't have to wonder what the, bill is going to be, with repairs, especially because I was practically driving a clunker. It didn't look like a clunker, but it sure was built like a clunker because it was always in the shop. Okay. Wouldn't that be a waste? So I knew why I was leasing. I did not just lease because, I just like to lease a Mercedes. No, I knew exactly why I was leasing. I need to get my budget in line. And even though I was, and I was scared, of course, I'm divorced, I'm on my own. All right. I knew that I needed to take this time to make sure that I was doing everything in my power to fix all the clutter going on financially around me. And I also needed to fix the clutter that was going on in my head. Okay. All that negative stuff that was going on in my head. I need to clear that too. Leasing allowed me to do that. Don't lease. If you want to make leasing really effective, lease with a plan. Why is it you're leasing? What do you want the end result to be? What's your outcome? Why do you want it? Now, does that mean you have to overthink it? No, it doesn't mean you have to overthink it, but what a shame to lease for the rest of your life because you really have no idea why you're leasing to begin with. What do you want from it? I knew what I wanted from leasing. I wanted a streamlined budget. I wanted to feel better mentally. That's what I wanted. I wanted to get my life in control. I wanted to take back control that I thought I had lost over the years. All right. That's what I wanted. I wanted to take back that control. So anyways, that's another one. Let's see. We talked about stabilizing budget. One thing that makes leasing successful, another thing I should say, be confident in your decision. Be confident. You're going to get people that will think, well, that was a dumb move. Hold on, everybody, just hold on. I need beverage. I was sipping and I didn't want to sip in your ear. Okay. But here's the cool part. Nobody needs to know you leased a car unless you tell them. Nobody's going to know. So if for some reason you're really shy about telling your people you're leasing, it's like, in the olden days. It's like, oh, we can't tell anybody that we actually color our hair. This is when I was growing up. Okay. The 80s, you did not tell people you colored your hair. Now my hair, this is all natural. 100% au natural. But even if it was colored, I wouldn't care. Okay. For a while, I used to dye my hair black, and then my hair got so platinum like this, it doesn't even take the black anymore. But people who do dye their hair, no, we don't care now. There's no judgment. It's like, don't dye your hair, whatever makes you happy. Okay. I think leasing, especially in this market now with cars being what they are and stuff, I don't think people, I didn't really, personally, I didn't come across anybody who was really judgmental about it. And if they were judgmental, they were smart and kept it to themselves, but I wouldn't have cared one way or another. It's like, lease, don't lease, dye your hair, don't dye your hair. I don't think that I didn't experience any judgment over it. And I think a lot of it is just, I was confident in what I was doing. I knew what I was doing. And I remember years ago when a student saw me coming out of the laundromat when I lived in my apartment, and I didn't have, a washer and dryer in my unit. And so I would haul my laundry to the laundromat. Yeah, they had like a laundry, room downstairs and stuff by my apartment. But I found it easier to go to the laundromat because I'd like to monitor my clothes and stuff as they're being washed. And, she's like, "Are you poor, Miss Horn?" I was like, "No, I'm not poor." Okay. So, be confident. And I'm going to end it with this one because, I could go on and on. I think the one thing that also, if I had to pick the most important, and I saved this one for last, of course, if I think of other things, I'll tell you in upcoming videos. But the number one thing to me, above all those things that I've told you that made leasing so successful for me, the number one thing is I got to end leasing on my terms. And if you watch video number 1, you will understand why that was so important to me. In other words, I came into my own, all right? I came into my own to decide and to discover that, hey, you know what? I don't need to lease anymore. It's okay to stop leasing. It was like, I want you to think of it like this. Leasing was like a tricycle. My life was in topsy-turvy. I needed something with training wheels to help me get through it. I didn't want any more commitments. I had a marriage that did not work. I had a car, my SUV, that did not work. My apartment was getting more and more expensive. It was up to $950, and this is just before the pandemic. And my limit as a renter, I told myself, once it hits 1,000, I'm the heck out. And I kid you not, 3 weeks after I signed for my condo, the entire city of Tampa and the rest of the United States closed. And then my apartment shot up to 1,700. So yeah, I guess you could say I dodged a bullet time frame wise. But all of this stuff was failing around me. The last thing I wanted was to sign on the line to buy, B-U-Y, a car. I didn't want that. And don't forget, in my history, I already had a car repoed before too. So all of this stuff is raining down. I needed something with training wheels or something like that to help me. I needed to get through this time period. Leasing allowed me to do that. It allowed me to fulfill what I needed, but without having to commit to something, because the fear of commitment to a vehicle after watching everything around me just, falling apart. But here's the really cool part, and why I think this is the most important for me. I was able to end leasing on my terms. I came into my own. I grew up. I outgrew the training wheels. What allowed me to come to it on my terms to end it? It was really simple. I realized that the things that I had been afraid of prior to leasing, before leasing, when my life was in topsy-turvy, I realized that those fears that I had didn't exist anymore. Why did those fears not exist anymore? Because just like I said earlier, during the 5.5 years that I leased, I worked to fix different aspects of my life. I was worried at one point that I might not be able to afford rent. That's not a fear anymore. Yes, I have an HOA. Our HOA fee is $455 a month. And that's after we had a minor assessment of $1,800, after we put on a new roof, yada, yada. Okay. With the new Florida laws, and our HOA does not work to make a profit. That is not the goal of our HOA. Our HOA works to break even on a budget and to fulfill the legal things that we need. Okay. Whereas my apartment rent has, like I said, shot up to $1,800 a month. All right. My HOA fee has gone up by $100 a month in the same, respectively, 4 years that I've been here. I'm in my 5th year. But I realized it was like over time, on my own terms, I came to my own conclusions, and I realized, Carrie, the things that you were scared of, the things that had you leasing to begin with, those fears don't exist anymore. I don't have to be afraid that I can't afford the rent. That fear is gone. I don't have to worry anymore that there's a $110,000 student loan and growing hanging over my head, that I came to the conclusion with that I can't ever pay this loan off on a teacher's salary. It will be impossible. Absolutely impossible. And I wasn't willing to put any inheritance towards it because the roof over my head was more important than paying off Sally Mae. I didn't have to worry about that anymore. The student loan is gone. I don't even have to worry anymore that, I would have a car that I can't afford to fix. I can afford to fix it. I can now afford to fix a vehicle because I don't have a student loan payment at about $375 a month. I don't have to worry about a nearly $1,000 a month rent payment. But the key was that I came to that conclusion on my own. The best budget, in my opinion, that a person can have is the budget that they think up themselves. The person that's holding the dollars, the person that's controlling that budget, or if it's multiple people, like, a couple, okay? But the people in charge of the budget, when they come to the conclusion that this is what's best for them, that this is what will help them financially. I came to my own conclusion on my own. Through my own pathway, I came to the conclusion it is time to stop leasing. Nobody forced it on me. Nobody said to me, "Oh, Carrie, you're just so dumb. You lease. Really, you're going to lease again?" As a matter of fact, I was actually on plan 3. I was actually ready to say, let's roll with another lease. And then I would say over about the last half a year, it was like, a few things happen. One is the market conditions. Yeah. Okay. The market conditions aren't great. It's definitely not great for trying to buy a new car and you have a really bad credit score. And it's just life. Okay. I've been there. Okay. No shade, not hating at all. I've been there. That's the reason this channel exists. Okay. So I came slowly over, I would say the last year to 6 months. I slowly started coming to the conclusion, like, do I really need to keep leasing? And when I realized that the things that I was afraid of, it's like, I want you to think of it like the monsters in the closet. I want you to think of it like monsters in a closet, and you realize those monsters, they don't really exist. They don't. They came out of the closet and they scared you because you were vulnerable. You felt vulnerable. But when you got your strength and you could fight it back, I know that seems like a dumb analogy, but really that's what it was. It was like all the scary things went away. But I had to do things to make them go away. I could be in the same position right now that I was in 5 years ago, just leasing a car, I could still technically have a student loan. Okay. I could have not followed through on the PSLF forgiveness. I could have changed jobs. That would have taken me out of PSLF. I could have decided that, I'm going to change careers and, drop that PSLF program. I could have been too lazy to try to, cut down budget, so I could afford a condo. I could have wasted an inheritance. I could have done a lot of things that would have changed the picture of where I'm sitting today. But I understood why I was leasing. I was leasing to streamline my budget. And in return, I wanted to fix areas. I didn't want the time that I spent leasing to be wasted. I wanted to make things better. And I wanted to use leasing a car as a way to allow me to focus on other things. I no longer had to worry about a car repair. I didn't have to be scared. And I really, really believe that to me was the single greatest thing about leasing. I ended my lease a week ago completely on my terms and 6 months early. But I ended it on my terms. When you can create a budget on your terms, when you come to understand that the monsters that you see coming at you, coming out of the closet, that keep you awake at night, when you gain the strength, the power, the willpower, the knowledge, the understanding, when you put the research and the time into researching it, because I had to research about leasing. I didn't know a squat about leasing. Okay? I didn't know squat. Oh, which reminds me, I talked to you about the down payment before we go here on this, okay, before I close this out. When you can create a budget on your terms because you come to understand why you need to make these changes, and you come to understand that the changes you're doing, the sacrifices you're making are good for you, that is, to me, that is a gift. That is a gift from heaven. If somebody had come to me and said, Carrie, you can't lease again a second time, now I'd be fighting it. If somebody had come to me and said, Carrie, you can't lease the third time, you can't do that, now I'd be fighting it. But nobody did that. I came into my own. And like I said, about a year ago, I started going, do I really need to keep leasing? And I would do the numbers and the math and all of that. But, honestly, it was less about the math as to why I stopped. And it was more about, I'm not scared anymore. I'm not scared. My emotions aren't as flat as a pancake. And it's okay. The things that scared me, the things that I was afraid of, 4 years after, being left, I realized didn't have to scare me anymore. So I spent 5.5 years during the time that I leased to take back every ounce of power that perhaps I had lost. Right? Before I go, I want to talk to you about the leasing down payment and why you really don't want to put down a leasing down payment. Okay. And anybody who knows me also knows now I've had 5.5 years of this experience, combined with the fact that I used to be an auto insurance adjuster and I've worked in insurance for 7 years. So really quickly before I close, and if you've made it this far, God bless you. The reason you really don't want to put money down on a car, okay, on a leased car, and I do not recommend paying more than 1 month in advance. That's it. And that's just to make sure your payments are always on time. It's because if you put a lot of money down on a car, hold on, that's Alexa. Alexa, stop talking. I swear, I'm going to get Alexa right here. I'm going to get the big ass Echo Dot and put it right here. The reason you don't want to put money down on a vehicle is very, very simple. If a leased vehicle should be totaled in an accident, any money that you put down is bye-bye. Any money that you put down is completely lost. Hold on, guys. I got to put snacks out for the garbage guy. Hold on. This will be a blip of a pause. Oh wait, I just remembered I'm streaming this. This is harder for me to pause. All right, I'm just going to keep going here. All right, because we're almost done. Any money that, make sure the mic is on. Okay, yes it is. Okay. Any money that you put down, you will lose it should the car be totaled in an accident. It's not like where you can go, let's just say, you get this new, you get a vehicle that's leased. Of course, it's brand new. 6 months later, let's say you put $5,000 down on it. It lowers the lease payment. All right. The car's totaled in an accident. Okay. I guarantee you, most likely, the vehicle will have gap coverage. It'll pay the difference between what was owed and, what the car's worth, yada, yada. But you're going to be standing there going, well, what about the $5,000 down? You lose it. Whatever you put down, whatever prepayment you make, in other words, you paid your lease bill early, whatever you put down, whatever prepayment you make, you lose it. Do not put down more money on a car than you absolutely have to get into a lease. You are better off taking that extra money, sticking it in a savings account of some sort, okay, having a higher lease payment, all right, and then just withdrawing from that savings account. Because a lot of times, dealers will say something like, yes, but if you put down $3,000, you only have a $250 a month car payment. That's true. But $3,000 of it was a down payment that came from you. Now, keep in mind, if you have a very low credit score, you may be required to put down a down payment. You may not have a choice. So that's something you need to consider. All right, folks, got to get the snacks out for the garbage guy. I do this on Sundays. It's my way of saying thank you to them for all their service. They get Oreos, water, and a can of Pepsi. That's just something that I do. When we're nice to people, I like to think it comes back. I'm Carrie. This is Student Loan Chit-Chat. Don't forget to watch. At the end, I will link video part 1. I hope you'll watch it. I'm Carrie. This is Student Loan Chit-Chat. I'd like to thank you for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you here tomorrow night. At least, that's the plan. Bye, everyone.